Good morning, everyone. Welcome to ArtSpeak TV and Radio here on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach, and this Friday we're going to kick off the holiday season talking with David Atkins and Tim Jones from Berkshire Theater Group, who oddly enough are doing outdoor theater this holiday season in Stockbridge. Later on in the program, we're going to talk with the actor Tara Franklin, who's busy in the kitchen baking all kinds of holiday cookies. So first of all, David Atkins and Tim Jones, welcome to ArtSpeak. David, you and I have chatted many times before, not only when we brought radio up to the stage of the Fitzpatrick main stage, but over the course of the summer when you were hosting Berkshire Theater Group's online programming on Fridays. And Tim, we've never met, but I've seen you in performances at Berkshire Theater Group. How are you guys doing outdoor theater in the middle of December?
Well, we're doing it diligently, and we're this morning dancing between the snowflakes. You know, it's something that we've never done before, working in the winter like this, so it's been quite an interesting challenge as we move from indoors to outdoors. Luckily, the two shows themselves, which is really basically a first act and a second act, are really only about 35 minutes long. So I think it's much harder on us than it would ever be on an actual audience, given that we need to rehearse and have to be able to rehearse outside once in a while to see what that is like. So it's been a challenge. I will say, however, our first week of rehearsal was mostly 70-degree weather, so we had a really good chance to get a jump start on all of this.
So where exactly is it being performed? I know it's next to the Unicorn Theater in Stockbridge.
There's a small courtyard out behind the barn, the big red barn that says Berkshire Theater Festival when you're driving past the Stockbridge campus. There's like a courtyard that kind of forms the area behind that barn and behind the Unicorn Theater itself. And they've built a stage into one of the corners and have built sort of like some graduated seating to be able to seat an audience on that grassy area that's in that little courtyard.
And do you get a chance in between scenes to run inside and warm up?
Some of us don't really.
Yeah, we're pretty much on stage the whole time. Luckily, our other cast members can take a break and warm themselves backstage.
Yeah. Now, it's a wonderful show. It's called Holiday Memories, and it's by Truman Capote, but it was adapted for the stage. And oddly enough, I believe that Eric Hill, who's directing this production, directed a production of it at Stage West in Springfield during his period there as artistic director. And the reason I remember this is the set designer, Todd Rosenthal, who designed that at Stage West, went on to become a Tony Award-winning set designer. And I believe that Holiday Memories was his very first design job at Stage West under Eric's tutelage.
Gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's so interesting.
It's what I remember in reviewing it, and I can't find the review because it was never posted online. It was back in the old days,
Yes.
But what I remember about the play was that it was just so perfect as opposed to A Christmas Carol or The Nutcracker or any of the other holiday fare, because it was small, it was intimate, it did deal with the holidays, but on a much different level.
Yes, I think it, in a way, deals well, or the experience of Thanksgiving and Christmas is very different, of course, from Christmas Carol. First of all, it gives you a real taste of the South, and it gives you, it's very, it takes place in the 1930s, basically, during the Depression, and it really gives us a taste of Americana and that early Christmas, Thanksgiving experience that, is becoming a memory, so to speak, these days. So, and it deals with slightly, it's taken from Truman Capote's childhood. So it has some very deep, poignant moments surrounded by these really loving family gatherings. So, it's very different from the normal Christmas and holiday fare.
And also rather different than other Truman Capote works. I think most people know his work from In Cold Blood, which was his recap of a brutal murder in Kansas. But and he's probably well known for Holly Golightly, which was the basis for Breakfast at Tiffany's. But over the years, as he progressed, he was more known as kind of like the hit for his participation in the social life in New York rather than his intimate, sincere writings. And this harkens back to those early years when he really could write about his youth and growing up in the South.
It sure does. And the thing I love about it is even though my character is called Truman, I'm not playing Truman Capote. This story has very universal themes. And it's not just, surrounding his quirky persona, so to speak. It's really a universal story that everyone can watch and enjoy. I think one thing that I really love about this choice that Kate McGuire, our artistic director, has made is that it's in a way a non-traditional family. It's about a little boy who is not with his parents, and he is, in a way, adopted by this amazing elderly spinster aunt who mothers him through a very turbulent time in his life. And through the challenges they experience, they find hope and meaning and joy and love. And right now, given the circumstances that we're under in this unprecedented time that all of us are experiencing, we as a theater group are facing this great challenge in an unprecedented way. And I think the story reflects the challenges we all are facing at this time and can come to, experience hope and joy in this time as well.
One of the things I was thinking about, we're taping this program right before Thanksgiving, and Holiday Memories talks about Thanksgiving and Christmas, and for most of us, it will not be Thanksgiving or Christmas as usual or as normal. Do you think the pandemic and what it's going to do to most of us in some way over this holidays will impact and change the meaning of this play and make it more relevant?
Tim?
I would say that yes. I think a lot of people already are kind of looking at the altered perspective related to the holidays because, many of us, especially, in the state of Massachusetts, having just recently undergone some adjusted safety protocols, are having to sort of reprioritize what gathering for the holidays means to them. And people are being encouraged to, more virtually be thankful for the opportunity to be safe with each other. So I think that in coming and seeing a play like this that's more oriented toward the intimate experience of the holidays with, people that we're very close to, I think that it definitely puts people in a position to say that those near to them are equally as important as those who may come from afar, and that right now, we can stay connected with those who are coming from afar, but it's still, going to be very important to appreciate those who are in our household, in our pods, so to speak, and that we can, still have some of the most meaningful, dare I say, holiday memories that we could have in 2020.
Now, I know earlier this year, Berkshire Theater Group and Barrington Stage made international history, being the first theaters in the country to kind of revamp and go into live performance mode. And that cast of Godspell was sequestered and quarantined through the run. Is it the same for you all now? Are you all in your own pod, or is it a little different?
Yes, we are in our own pods, and we are doing everything we can to stay away from anyone else who is not in our group. And we are also, when we are inside the theater now, it's not heated. I mean, there's no blowing air back there. People are wearing masks whenever we're together, and our staging itself is, not as intimate as it might be otherwise. We maintain social distance while on stage. So everything is shifted to make this possible. What do you think, Tim?
I would say, and having been in the cast of Godspell, things that the measures we're taking as related to holiday memories are actually, we're able to enjoy a little bit more freedom than what we had to undergo with Godspell, partly because Godspell was so much of us effectively writing the handbook of what live theater in a pandemic needs to look like, but also because it's a smaller number of people on production. The relative square footage per actor is much more in our favor this time around. So there's more staging and more storytelling that we're able to enjoy. Whereas in Godspell, you kind of had your home base that was designed to be socially distant and accommodate for the issues arising with singing and the increased distance between people that needed to be accommodated for when people were singing in a musical. So while there are the safety protocols that we're undergoing in our lifestyles to be as safe as possible, we're not that we could go to restaurants if we wanted to in the city of Pittsfield at the moment, but taking measures in our lives, but also we're taking some different measures in the rehearsal space than we did during Godspell, mainly because there are less people. We don't have to have such strict quarantine bubbling, but the pod does have to be cognizant of just how we're living our lifestyles outside of the rehearsal space.
And we should add that the fact that Berkshire Theater Group and your cast of Godspell took such a risk, a theater goer from the Berkshires, a family, and the matriarch of the family passed away and was a real lover of culture in the Berkshires. The family donated over $1 million to Berkshire Theater Group because they had taken these risks and to protect the theater over the course of until performances could begin again. So I guess all of those risk-taking paid off in ways that no one could have ever thought.
Yes, it sure has. We, as a theater community, we depend on the kindness of strangers, so to speak, and those who are strangers to us individually, but not strangers to us as part of our theater community. The angels who fly in and help support us and keep theater alive are, they're in some ways very much a foundation for all of us, and we are deeply, deeply grateful. They're also helping to provide jobs for people by keeping the theater alive, and it supports the theater, of course, and the arts supports the rest of the community at large as well. So we are just so grateful for a gift such as that.
I think for those of us that work in the creative economy here in Western Massachusetts, seeing Barrington Stage and Berkshire Theater Group come back to life when so many other arts organizations couldn't, it was a bit of optimism, thinking, well, maybe things will turn around and maybe there will be a survival of these arts organizations and things will move forward. And my next question is, both of you, at different generations, got their start at Berkshire Theater Group. David, you have told your story before, but Tim, how did you get into theater? Because I understood that through somebody that you were initially majoring in college in aeronautical engineering. How does that translate to the stage?
So, I first actually became involved with Berkshire Theater Group when I was attending St. Joseph Central High School here in Pittsfield. One of our fellow cast members in Holiday Memories, Danny Garrity, who's also my roommate in New York City, he and I went to high school together, and he encouraged me to audition for A Christmas Carol at Berkshire Theater Group. And I was able to do that for, 2 years and kind of get to know some of the people. It was my first time being directed by Eric Hill, directing this production when I was, a young teenager coming into theater outside of high school for the first time. And when I went to college, I was kind of at a crossroads and had made a decision that, money and financial stability was something that would matter most to me. And about halfway through, I woke up and, knew that I wanted to live my life as a performer. I knew that I loved it, that I'll always love it, and that I had to take it as far as it would possibly go. And I reconnected with Berkshire Theater Group and got involved with some community-based projects. And over the course of time, I slowly took on more and more opportunities doing the acting internship and was instructed by David Adkins, and now I finally, get to work with him, which I've wanted to do ever since meeting him and learning from him. And then over the course of a couple of years, I was just able to do more and more. And Berkshire Theater Group came to give me my first equity contract, and I was able to get my card and move to New York City, and it all just sort of fell into place. It was just green light after green light after green light. And though I did stay in school to finish actually my master's degree in aerospace engineering, once I graduated, I decided that I wanted to move to New York and make the actor's life happen. And then COVID-19 had other plans. But then through COVID-19, I've actually been able to enjoy these projects, which is, I'm just so blessed. I'm so blessed to have people like Berkshire Theater Group to be able to support us as artists through an unprecedented time.
You've been very lucky because earlier you did Godspell, and now you're doing this both with Berkshire Theater Group. When the pandemic struck, did you have other irons in the fire, or did it kind of just wipe your slate clean?
It more or less wiped the slate clean. We didn't really feel safe in New York at the time, so I came back to Pittsfield, and I was able to pick up some work delivering PPE to the nursing homes around Massachusetts. So for the first couple months, I was just driving along I-90, delivering isolation suits and masks and sanitation equipment to all of the Berkshire Healthcare System's nursing homes.
Did you find that it put a stop, or it made you rethink your career when the pandemic struck? Because you had a lot of credits and you were starting to really build, but for somebody at the beginning of their career to be slapped down is something different than somebody who's been in the business for years.
Yeah, it definitely, having just been in my sort of first few years of postgraduate, time, it was kind of, it's always been an uncertain time where we're just more or less waiting to see if I can, make this work in the acting industry, because the whole time I'm sitting on this master's degree. And when the pandemic hit, we actually had already started to make the arrangements and casting for what the BTG 2020 season was going to be. And Godspell was actually already on the docket at that time. So I was aware that, there was this project that was going to be happening. And over the course of the first few months of the pandemic, it actually took on several different forms in terms of, pushing back a few months, reorienting things. This was back at a time when we all thought the pandemic would be over in 2 weeks and we'd all be back to normal. And it became clearer and clearer that that wasn't the case. But then, we saw Kate McGuire fighting so hard to be able to bring this project to life. So with that being on sort of the horizon the whole time, I knew that coming into the industry, it was a really scary thing when it's so hard to get a foothold, even when things are normal. But knowing that the project of Godspell was something that was being fought so hard for, I knew that I trusted everybody involved to where that just became the sole focus. And then, whatever would come afterwards would come, and we would deal with it. But that was really all that mattered at the time.
And oddly enough, Godspell was the appropriate musical to present during a pandemic because of its themes and its familiarity. It probably may have played better because of the circumstances around it than it might have in another year. So I think, fate plays its hand, and it probably was a very fortunate hand.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Okay. We're going to take a real fast break here to acknowledge the underwriters that make ArtSpeak TV and radio possible. We're talking with David Atkins and Tim Jones from Berkshire Theater Group. They're the stars of Holiday Memories, which is now running. For information, you can go to the Berkshire Theater Group's website, berkshiretheatergroup.org. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer, and we'll be right back.
Is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to ArtSpeed, everyone, on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB. If you missed a part of this program this morning, or you want to catch up on some of the ones you've missed in the past, they're all archived on YouTube under the WSKB Community Radio page. So you can go back there and listen to programs over the last couple of years. David Atkins has been on my show many times, and so you can hear what he said last summer or last spring or the fall before. So it's a great archive of chance to hear what some of the most important people in the arts and the creative economy here in Western New England have to say. Gentlemen, how long does Holiday Memories run?
I think right now we're running up into the week of Christmas with the potential of maybe extending it depending on how things go. We open on the 28th, I believe, and then play for another 3 weeks.
What happens if it snows? Are there I know that outdoor shows have rain dates, but will you be the first theater in American history to have a snow date?
I think it will be, and I'm almost hoping for one, although I would hate to lose, a performance. It's kind of funny. I mean, we are all asking these questions as we go along, really. I mean, because it's outdoors, we have to be cognizant of the weather and also the comfort of the audience. It's a learning experience for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, when Kate McGuire said, you got to come up and see this. And I'm thinking, how am I going to stand out there in minus degree wind chills and watch a show? And how are you guys going to create the warmth of a southern winter on stage and stuff like that? But it'll be an adventure I think people will really want to get into.
I think so, and I think that's part of the fun of it as well, is being part of something that has never happened before. There are those, there are going to be people who are like, I'm not going to sit in the cold for 10 minutes, but there are people who will want to go and see a show about the holidays in this time and be able to say, I went, I saw, I experienced something that no theater has ever done before, and I went and I supported the arts and the artists that we, care about and want so much to fill our lives now and after we get through this. And so I think we depend on, in a way, the fortitude of, this American spirit that we have, which is, personified by theater and the arts in a way, even in the best of times. So I think we're going to have people. We're selling tickets. People are coming. So we feel really emboldened by that and by the experience that Godspell provided. At first people were like, what? Kate McGuire is going to do what? That's crazy. And yet, her fortitude, her undying belief in what we do has, keeps pushing us forward. So I'm feeling very hopeful about it, and I think we will have the audiences.
You've got it's a small cast for Holiday Memories, but who are some of the other people that are involved in this besides you two?
Well, I'll jump in first, Tim, with my beautiful partner of 20 years, Corinna May, is playing Miss Sook. And we create our own little safe pod here in Western Massachusetts. So go ahead, Tim.
Well, joining us, as I had mentioned earlier, one of my longtime friends growing up and currently my roommate in the city, Danny Garrity, is going to be joining us in the cast, as well as Isadora Wolf, who I actually have met and worked with for the first time now. David, I'm not sure if you and Isadora have worked together before.
No, we have. It's been amazing.
It's been incredible. She's wonderful, and I've been so enjoying her spirit and her energy, and I work really well with her. We're also fortunate enough to be blessed with two understudies in Kathy Jo Grover, who is one of the cornerstone people in the BTG community, as well as Jason, our stage manager, is actually also the male understudy. So he and I here at the Thaddeus Clapp House in Pittsfield behind the Colonial have more than ample opportunity for him to run my lines with me, both to help me be prepared for our performances, but for him to also be prepared in the instance that he gets the tap on the shoulder to step in to one of at least my role.
And he's also working as the press rep right now for Berkshire Theater Group. That man, I see the time that the press releases are sent. I don't think he ever sleeps.
Probably not. In fact, I think the actors so often get the accolades, and the fact is that we are supported by the technical staff and, the office staff. I mean, it's just extraordinary what goes on behind the scenes to make all of this happen. Pete Durgan, who, is responsible for making, the physical structure happen and the lights and the sound, works tirelessly. We are surrounded by an absolutely intrepid group of people who believe in the theater and, who really make everything move smoothly for us. I mean, it couldn't be smoother, and it's because they are jumping hurdles backstage, and they, in most ways, keep us safe from all of that, and without them, we would be nothing, really. We would be nothing.
Well, David Atkins and Tim Jones, thanks for joining me today. They're both appearing in Holiday Memories at Berkshire Theater Group that runs through the holiday season up in Stockbridge. You'll need to bundle up and dress warm if you go, because it's an outdoor performance. And for details, berkshiretheatergroup.org. Thanks, gentlemen, for being here this morning. We're going to take a break to acknowledge underwriters, and we'll be back with an actor who also has a side business, baking cookies. So you're going to learn about on-stage baking and off-stage baking when we come back. Don't go away.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Underwriting for community radio is provided by the YMCA of Greater Westfield. Every day, the YMCA strengthens the community through programs and services focused on youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. For all the Y's many programs and services, visit us on the web at www.ymca.org. www.westfieldymca.org. The YMCA, 67 Court Street in downtown Westfield. We're more than a gym. We're a cause.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to ArtSpeed, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. We're broadcasting from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy. And our next guest is one of my favorite people who has been on this program many times, not only as an actor, but as a baker. It's Tara Franklin, who, if you've missed performances, most recently she did Row at Wham Theater, which was stunning. If you miss performances like that, then you really should catch some of the stuff that's out there on YouTube and look at her bake site, because when she's not on stage, she's in the kitchen. Tara, always good to see you.
Great to be here.
So now that we're ramped up in the holiday season, I bet you're baking 24/7.
I am very busy. Yes, actually, you're keeping me busy, Mark.
Yeah,
I'm shipping yours out today.
I threw a couple of orders out there because, first of all, the people here in the station love your cookies and can't get enough of them. But I also have one of the guys who works for me, who's going to college at University of Wyoming in Laramie. He gets a cookie shipment via Sweet Sam Bakes every once in a while, and it makes his day. So I'm trying to cheer him up while he's working out there. When we last chatted, the pandemic was in full swing, and you never were able to talk about some of the upcoming events and productions you were involved in, but partially because nobody knew what was going to come forward. But since then, you did a production of King Lear for Chester Theater, where you're on the staff, and most recently starred in Wham Theater's production of Roe, which is the backstory of Roe v. Wade. Two really incredible opportunities.
Yeah, it was, and very different, and obviously extremely different from what I'm used to, being on stage in front of a live audience. So just getting used to this different platform has been a challenge, but has been really exciting, especially since I have to, I'm teaching acting at Smith College remotely. And so just being able to learn, how the Zoom thing works in terms of performance, and then being able to sort of translate that to my students in my classes. That's been, I just feel very fortunate that I was able to have the performance experiences that I did, so that I can offer a little something more to my students this semester.
I did not get to see the Lear adaptation that Daniel Kramer put together, but I did get to see Roe. And it must have been a challenge with such a large cast to work up to the give and take of the interactions when they were all filmed rather than on stage.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I mean, all of us, I think there were 10 of us, we all were in our separate homes, including the director and all the designers, which I was so impressed by the organization and just sort of the ambition of the project. And I felt like Kristen did a beautiful job of bringing a great group of people together. Of course, I missed being with people. That was really hard. I had auditioned for this back in, I guess it must have been February. And then, thinking that this was going to be a live performance, like a run in September. And then, of course, it got, we entered COVID. And so I was really excited that Kristen decided to mount the production virtually. But, I thought it was a great exercise for me in terms of just being able to create a character and really have to work on that by myself, but then having this, wonderful support system from all of the other actors and all of the other creatives, just pulling this story together. And I thought, I thought for what it was, I thought it came out really well. Of course, I I had a really hard time watching it just because I don't not used to watching myself on screen quite yet. So I saw little snippets here and there, but it seemed like they had a pretty decent audience for the 4 days that it was up and running.
Yeah, and it was total serendipity, but the story, with the election, heading up to the election and with the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was such a pro-choice person on so many levels. I think a lot of us, I know what Roe v. Wade is about and everything, but I had no idea who the characters were in the entire thing. And I found the character that you played, who was Roe in the thing, to be a fascinating character. Nothing like what I would have anticipated the Roe would have been like.
Right. It was interesting, too, because she actually... Norma McCorvey passed away recently, but they had done this documentary called I Am Roe, or maybe it was just called Roe. I can't quite remember the name of it. There's been a few different things about her. So I watched that, and I was able to sort of glean some of her personality from that. She was funny. She was, very sarcastic, but had a big heart, and just really wanted to connect with people. And I think that was what I really loved working on in the story, is her ability to maintain her sense of humor, but also really trying to stand up for herself, and also really trying to find a community where she was feeling accepted and loved.
Yeah, I was just overwhelmed by the performance in the way that it intermingled with the other characters, even though it was all split screens and everything. You were able to convey that through technology, which made me realize how incredible that play would have been to have seen it live.
Oh, I know. I really hope that it can be done live. I hope that Kristen and her staff and her designers will be able to remount that at some point when we're all allowed to be back in the theater. That would be a great opportunity.
So since Roe, you've been teaching. How are your students adapting to learning acting techniques through Zoom?
Mark, it's so funny because I had originally, Smith was going to be in person, or some of it was going to be in person, and I had opted to try to teach in person because I just felt like, how am I going to do this? And then, of course, 2 weeks before campus was going to open, they said, we're going to go totally remote. So I have 11 students who were maybe expecting to be in class, but then, and then everything had to go online. So I'm connecting with these students. I have one in, I think she might be in Hong Kong. I have a student in Hawaii. So this, I have a 10 a.m. class on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And of course, one of them it's 4 in the morning and one of them is midnight. So it's been really, interesting dealing with the time difference. But, I have to say, I have been incredibly impressed by their openness and their sort of willingness to try things. I have I would say about half of my students are students who have never taken a theater class or are just taking this because it's something that they've always wanted to take and they're about to graduate. So I love getting those students, especially because they just have there's no ego about it. They're just like, I'm going to try something new. And a lot of times those are my favorite students because they just get up there and they don't know, they're just completely open. It's like working with kids too. It's just like they, if they can get rid of any inhibitions about being in front of people, it's kind of really amazing to watch them. And it's also really interesting that people actually, because they're maybe not in the classroom or because they're on the screen, they're finding a lot more imaginative ways to approach things. They're in their own spaces and they're working on scenes, but, I kind of give them free rein to move around and adjust their cameras any way they want to. So, it's been a really interesting experiment, and I have actually found it to be quite fun. Of course, I love to be in the classroom because I love that sense of just, the energy between people. I mean, for me, that's what the exciting part of theater is about, like connecting with your audience and connecting with your scene partner. But I have to say that, you know, I'm learning a lot, and I'm so impressed with their, you know, their willingness to just kind of go for it, even in this very strange platform.
Yeah, and one of the things I think that's sort of interesting about this pandemic time, with so much theater being streamed, we have the opportunity as audiences to see theater productions all across the globe that we never would have seen,
right.
you know, if it was live, because who could afford to either fly to wherever that theater piece was being done or pay the price of the ticket? But
right.
I realized the other night I was watching a production from TheaterWorks in Hartford, The Who and the What, and as much as I missed being in the theater and watching it and connecting with what was going on stage, the opportunity to see it was thrilling. And the chance, the you know, I talk about TheaterWorks or Chester or Berkshire Theater Group, and, you know, constantly, but my audience could go see some of the things that I was talking about without jumping in the car and driving for an hour.
Yeah, I know. It's been really kind of weirdly satisfying sometimes to see productions. I actually saw a production of Yukon's Men on Boats, which I had directed a couple years ago at Smith. And so I wanted to see their virtual production. And I was completely blown away by the design, by the way that the director got the characters and the actors to work together. I was just, you know, I was mesmerized. And I have had that similar experience with a lot of things that I've been able to see online. Of course, I watched Heidi Schreck's What the Constitution Means to Me. If that's still up on Amazon, I urge people to see it.
Yeah, that was a really good production, and it was scheduled to be performed live at the Bushnell in Hartford before they canceled their season. But that's a wonderful play. I highly recommend it.
And it was, of course, you know, great timing, and we were able to actually get our audience at Chester to see it, and then we had a talk back, which is what we've been doing at that theater. We, you know, doing the King Lear was great, but then it was also, you know, we've been able to inform our audience of different live stream productions, or not necessarily live stream, but taped productions all around the world. And so that's been a really great way to kind of keep our audience connected. And, you know, so much of what Chester does is about the conversation, you know, that we have between audience and cast or director. So it's been really great to sort of keep that alive through this whole time.
And I guess we're kind of lucky because the area where we work, Berkshire Theater Group, Barrington Stage, Chester, TheaterWorks in Hartford, these arts organizations have just really, really reached out to their audiences during the pandemic and are doing so much audience development and interaction that they never would have done if they wouldn't have had the time to do, perhaps, if theaters were just staging their stuff as they normally do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been, I you know, commend all the theaters in the region who have been able to, first of all, just stay afloat during this. You know, I think Barrington and Berkshire Theater Group doing those two shows this summer, not only was it just a feat of, you know, courage, but it was also just so welcome at that time. I mean, I did go see Godspell. I wasn't able to see the Barrington stage production, but Godspell was wonderful. It was just such, I mean, just to be in an audience again, even though we were so far away from other audience members. And of course, I'm a big fan of that musical. So it was just really, it was just really refreshing. And I was just so proud to be in that audience and to know that company and to have worked with that company. So I was thrilled that they were able to do it. And, you know, I feel really strong about what our theater is doing. But yeah, I think that this is the way we survive, you know, and we as artists, we know what that's like. We're always trying to survive. So this is, you know, as difficult as this is, it doesn't feel out of reach for us.
It doesn't. And I mean, I did not go to either of the productions this summer, but I am going to see Holiday Memories at Berkshire Theater Group. I'm choosing my Arctic wardrobe very carefully because it's outside. But, you know, I need to fix the live theater. I mean, pandemic or not, I really need it. Tara, we got to take a fast break because there are underwriters to acknowledge. When we come back, we'll be talking more with Tara Franklin, and we're going to move this chat to her kitchen, so don't go away. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. We're broadcasting from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy. And if you've missed any of the ArtsBeat programs, you can find them archived on YouTube under WSKB Community Radio's page. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardy siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to ArtsBeat, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer, and we're chatting with Tara Franklin, the actor and the baker. One of the things that happened this summer during the pandemic was Tara's husband, James Barry, who is a super talented actor, director, musician, and now playwright, put together a series of songs called Corona Covers, where people could dedicate a song to someone they cared about. They paid a fee. James and Tara and their son Sam would record it, donate half of the proceeds to a not-for-profit, and you guys were able to keep alive and involved in, I guess from what you had anticipated, might have been a couple of dozen songs. Turned out to be well over 200.
Yes, actually. And James just finished, I think we had stopped for a couple months. He had one more. And, he wanted to make that last one, he wanted to sort of acknowledge everyone. So I think he did a video of reading everybody's name that had donated and what song that they did. So it was really, So I think the last one that we all did together was in August before school started, before James started his MFA and Sam started, his fourth grade year and I started teaching again. So I think it was maybe right before Halloween, James finished the very last 209th song. So, you can check it. I think they're all on YouTube. So it's kind of fun to be able to go back and look at all of those.
Well, every once in a while go back, and we're going to end the program today with your kind of Phantom of the Opera, country western swag of something from Phantom of the Opera. But I thought it was fun. Each one was a little theater piece. And I've seen you act before. I've seen him act before. I had never heard you sing prior, but I knew that James did. But to see your son just jump in and do all of that, some of them are absolutely delightful, and each one is a little play unto itself.
Yeah, they were. They were really fun to put together. We have a large trunk of costumes. Just as actors, we kind of collect things. And now that Sam is a little bit older and playing some instruments, it was really fun to include him too, and it just kept us, we had to be together, we had to be inside, and we had to find a way to stay sane and creative, and so it was just a great project for all three of us.
And are they still available? Can people go see them on YouTube?
Yeah, I think on James's channel, I'm not sure, I haven't been, he also posted them on Instagram and maybe Facebook, so They are possible to view there, but I think YouTube is probably the biggest collection of them.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while, I wish I remembered the page, but I go back and forth every so often for a little bit. So you've been for a long time the proprietor of Sweet Sam Bakes, which is just a cookie store. I have to say, I'm constantly going to your website to buy cookies. The little green Christmas tree almond ones are addictive. I may need counseling at some point to break clear of
You're not alone.
Yeah. So how's the baking going these days?
It's great. You know, this past summer, which I don't usually do because I'm usually acting, this summer I opened up the shop. So it's, you know, and I was able to donate some of the proceeds that I made to some Black Lives Matter organizations. And so I just kind of kept it open, and it's been a slow, you know, it's sort of a slow, steady stream of stuff. And then now that the holidays are in full swing, I'm getting lots of orders. The hard thing this year is that none of the festivals, the sort of holiday markets that I used to do, are running because of COVID. So I'm a little sad about that. I always loved to sort of set up my shop in one of these places and be able to talk to customers and, you know, have Sam help. So I'm really sad about that. But the online stuff is fun, and I'm able to sort of, you know, put a lot more time and effort into that. So I'm, you know, like I said, I'm shipping yours out today, and I've got a couple of different holiday samplers. A couple of new products that I didn't have last Christmas or last Hanukkah.
What are the new cookies?
So let's see. I added the coconut shortbread with lime glaze this summer. I also have oatmeal raisin cookies. I have classic chocolate chip cookies. I have something called Midnight Crinkles, which, gosh, they remind me of these old Archway cookies that I used to get when I was little. These sort of soft-baked, big chocolate cookies. So I found a recipe for those, and those are on the roster. So, yeah, it's, you know, and you can kind of mix and match, create your own sampler, or you can, you know, just buy either the celebration sampler, which includes a variety of stuff, or the holiday one, which also includes those little green trees that you were talking about that are so addictive. And probably the other favorite is the Linzer cookies with the raspberry preserves in the middle. So I just love making all of this stuff. I love packaging it. It just feels so good. It just brings me such joy. And I know that, like, you know, people opening these packages and finding something sweet inside is just such a lovely thing, especially right now. It's so nice to have a little something sweet.
The thing is that they're sweet, but they're not cloyingly sweet, which I really like as a cookie. How can people find out? How can people find out where to find all of these cookies and order them?
Well, so if you just go to Etsy.com, and if you type in the search Sweet Sam Bakes, all one word, no spaces, so Sweet Sam Bakes, it'll bring you right up to my site, and you can order right from there.
That sounds terrific, and people should. What are the almond ones called, the Christmas tree ones?
So they're almond spritz trees, and they are, I mean, I used to have this old tin kind of like machine, I guess. It has since broken down, and now I have more modern ones, but it's a little, you know, it's a press cookie. So you put the dough in, and it's kind of like this little lever, and you squeeze it, and a little tree comes out. And then we sort of sprinkle it with the sprinkle snow. And, you know, I make thousands of them. I mean, they're just so popular. I have orders right now. People order them by the 2 dozen, 3 dozen. So I've probably got about 900 or so going out this week.
That's amazing. I probably have to order more because I can't remember how many I ordered, but in our household, they don't last very long, like minutes.
Right, and they're so tiny. You just pop them in. You know, it's like you don't even know that they're, you know.
I would
have one?
Yeah, I would try to pass them off as my own because people know I cannot bake anything. And this summer, after I was lying outside one day watching YouTube because I was bored, and they had that Pioneer cooking show, Pioneer Woman or whatever. And and she made a dump cake. And I thought, well, I could do that. And so with the ingredients I had, I made the dump cake that was just so disgusting and so awful. I have officially retired from ever baking anything again. But Tara, you've got the talent and the skills, and I hope you get to keep doing it.
Me too. I just love it. And now that the shop is open year round, I'm just, it makes me so happy to be able to kind of keep doing it. It brings me, like I said, so much joy. And it's just this meditative, very relaxing thing for me. I don't ever think it's a chore. It doesn't feel like work, unlike cooking, which I don't do.
Yeah. Well, I can cook if necessary. But when I walk in the kitchen and say, I think I want to make something for dessert, people scatter. It's just... So, do you have any acting projects on the horizon, or is everything pretty much kind of like on hold with the pandemic?
Well, there are some things in the works for Chester. I don't know if I can talk about them right now, but all of that will be very, very clear very soon. We'll be sending out some information about that, but something that we're going to be working on between now and the summer. And in the summer, we're hoping to do a truncated season, but definitely a season. It will probably be outside, like a lot of the other theaters in the area. But we're really excited to bring theater back to our audience and to the Berkshires.
Now, earlier in the program, I was talking with David Atkins and Tim Jones. They're doing Holiday Memories at Berkshire Theater Group, and they're performing outside in winter, which to me would be an incredible challenge. Have you performed in outdoor theater before?
I have, but not in the winter, definitely in the summer. One of my, I'm going to say like 2007, I started working at the Nebraska Theater Festival, Shakespeare Festival, out in Omaha. And their season doesn't go past the 4th of July because it just gets too hot, and they're worried about the actors having heat stroke. So, but I remember, with bugs and heat. So I actually kind of wish I could perform outside in the winter, just because usually as an actor, I'm always just like sweating under whatever costume I have on. So there's something actually a little bit like, enticing about the brisk weather. But
yeah,
I'm sure the audience has a different feeling.
It could be. We're out of time, Tara, but it's been such a pleasure to get a chance to catch up and talk.
Oh.
And just throw out that Sweet Sam Bakes information, because you can't get through the holiday season without one of Tara's cookies.
Yeah, just go to Etsy and type in Sweet Sam Bakes, all one word, and you can find me.
We've been chatting with the actor, baker, Tara Franklin. Thanks for joining us. And this wraps up another edition of ArtSpeak TV and Radio. Peter Coles has been our chief engineer. We're broadcasting from Studio 120. You can join us on either Westfield Community Programming, Channel 15, or 89.5 WSKB. Every Friday at 8. We're leaving you with some music of James Barry, Tara Franklin, and Sam Barry performing a version of All I Ask for You from the Phantom of the Opera.
No more talk of darkness. Forget these wide-eyed fears. I'm here, nothing can harm you. My words will warm and calm you. Let me be your freedom. Let daylight dry your tears. I'm here with you, beside you, to guard you and to guide you. Say you'll love me every waking moment. Turn my head with talk of summertime. Say you'll need me when you know and always. Promise me that all you say
here we've